Hey everybody, this is Mark, and welcome back to Beyond Profit, a Global Perspective. I want to talk about education today. A lot of times I am sharing information about the content areas, the things that I teach. Obviously, I'm a teacher, but I also have an interest in pedagogy. And I came across a video that I did at a faculty meeting back in 2009, so it's a little bit dated, but still I think that the teaching philosophy behind it is good. And the idea behind it is how to raise expectations of a student in order to challenge them and provide a quality experience for them. So there's a lot of things that I often talk about, things like active learning and using games in the classroom. I've published books on these things, but I also think that maintaining this philosophy that you have high expectations of students and that challenging them creates transformation it's a big theme certainly in my teaching. So I thought I would share this with you, and here we go. I want to remind you to please like this video. If you think it's valuable to you, please subscribe to the channel. Leave some comments below if there's something that you want to learn more about. I haven't done as much on education pedagogy at this point, so I certainly could do a lot more in that area if it's helpful to you, sort of fellow educators. I really appreciate the support you offer this channel, and I want to point out to you too that I don't teach in the education school at the University of St. Mary, but there are some really good quality educators there, and if you're interested in becoming an educator, University of St. Mary is a great place to go. Hi everybody, I'm Mark Harvey.
Everything that Denise said, do it. Thank you. Now, let me start out just by telling you a little bit about my philosophy in the classroom. I believe education can and should be fun, it should be entertaining, and try to keep things as lively as possible, and I'm sorry, the subject matter probably isn't the most exciting thing in the world, but in those cases, we try to keep things moving and try to keep some activities sort of going. Unfortunately, I don't have that for you here, but I try to keep that in the classroom. However, I also believe the classes should be challenging, that students should be pressed sort of beyond their comfort zone into a growth zone so that, they actually get something out of it. And that does require high standards. Now, I do understand that, it's tough to run a class between 6 and 10 in the evening. It can be challenging and so on. It's a tough gig. But likewise, when we are evaluating people on whatever work they're doing, it's good to give them a variety of things to do, but we also have to maintain those high standards. And so what I want to do really today is focus on three aspects that I think are essential as far as maintaining high standards. And the key is clear communication, and I'll talk about that in three areas. One is in grades, the second one is in the syllabus, and the third is in rubrics. The grades themselves, I think, are an excellent communication tool, quite honestly. I mean, to sort of reiterate what Denise said, we don't just sort of show up and get a trophy. I make it very clear on the syllabus from the beginning exactly what an A means. And to me, an A means that you are going beyond the typical thing that you should be doing. You are going on and beyond that. If it's one thing to sort of have an objective multiple choice sort of thing where clearly there are 100% if you get them all right. But if you're writing, quite honestly, they're going to have to do a lot better than what you would expect in order to get anywhere between a 90 and 100. A B is something that is above average effort, and a C, quite frankly, is okay. You've done the minimum things you need to do. You've done most of them correctly. And I actually have sort of a written thing where I sort of specify exactly this is what an A is, this is what a B is, this is what a C is, and quite honestly, if you're either not turning something in, doing poor effort, or, just getting a lot of things wrong, then you might end up in a D or an F range. And because I communicate this from the beginning, there's no surprises. And I think that that's really sort of the key. I don't think that these are unreasonable standards. Adult students are generally hard workers. They're going to do the best they can as far as everything's concerned. Most of them shouldn't have any problem scoring somewhere in a B or an A range, but they sometimes have to be, I think, challenged to sort of say, look, these are the standards that I expect, and I certainly hope that you'll shoot within those standards. The bottom line is that I think, first of all, in terms of grades, that, communicating through grades is an acceptable means of doing that. You can, sort of reward a student by saying, hey, you did a great job, that's an A. A B means something different, and quite honestly, if somebody's not doing a very good job communicating, by giving them a lower score at times, I think is an acceptable means of doing so. The second thing I want to talk about is the syllabus. And I don't want to spend a lot of time talking about this. Aaron talked about it quite a bit earlier, and, love the new system. That's great. But I'll also say that, clarity in that syllabus really is important, and making sure that they know exactly what your standards are from day one. And if they do, there's no surprises. I make sure that every assignment that I've got on the syllabus is written out in very precise detail. There's no surprises throughout the course, and therefore they understand what my expectations are at the beginning, and like I said, there are no surprises. I also sequence assignments on the syllabus in such a way that I can give proper feedback as I go, which to some extent hits on something that Anne was talking about. If you can give an opportunity to sort of help a student as they go along, it becomes a learning experience and not simply an evaluative one. That is, maybe early on I will give a student an assignment that is worth 5% in terms of writing, and then I will give them a lot of very solid and honest feedback, and then when that assignment comes along that's worth 15 or 20%, they will have learned sort of what is important to me and then adjust accordingly. So they have the ability to sort of fail, and maybe not literally fail, but at least they have the means to sort of learn something more objective on a less important assignment, get some feedback, and then be able to adjust when the stakes are a lot higher. The third tool for clear communication, consistent standards, in my opinion, is the rubric. There's many ways you can do a rubric. I actually substituted for a teacher last summer who used a rubric very much like this. I was like, hey, hers is better than mine. Yeah, I loved her rubric, so I'm just pretty much stole it. Adapted it a little bit. I told her so too, so, hey, it's good. And, you can steal it from me. That's all good. Hey, like I said, we don't have a copyright on these great ideas. Hopefully they're okay. I actually like it a lot better for a number of reasons. So you've got categories that more or less equate to percentage ranges that might also somewhat equate to, your grading scale in the classroom. Within each one of those columns, there are some very specific criteria that you're looking for. And this one, for example, I think that they've got up there is for a paper. Like for instance, you can see one of the criteria is a thesis statement. Duh, well, you need to have one. If you don't have one, you're going to get a 0 on that particular thing. Or it can range anywhere from there to, the thesis is unclear or unstated, all the way up to, it's narrow, relevant, explicit, right? And these are things that I think more or less you can sort of put in different categories, and then you more or less just sort of like circle or give them a score. I like a 1 to 100 scale simply because it's easily understood to students. And then I give this to them on the first day of class. They know exactly sort of like these are the standards that I'm going to be grading on. This is what I do for a paper. This is what I do for a presentation. And that way they'll know. They read this thing, then it'll be very clear what it is that is important to me in the process. So I think these are all things that I think are really good tools. Now, I'll just sort of say in conclusion here that I'd like to say a lot of these approaches are going to save you some time. If you look at a rubric, for example, and, something like this, you circle stuff or, you put in scores, if you've gone through the practice of sort of like writing long essays in response to whatever the student has to write, this might be a slightly more efficient way to communicate some generalizable ideas. I still suggest that, at the bottom of any rubric, you put personalized comments on there and make sure that there are a few things that are very specific to them that they can carry away with them, especially like 1 or 2 things to sort of simplify the things that you think are more important. However, I'll also say that if you're the type of teacher where you're not giving very much feedback at all, this may not be a time-saving thing. But I think good education requires good communication and good feedback, and so I think that's really important. I also think that these standards support a sense of fairness. If one team or one group does everything right, and then another team that doesn't do as well or doesn't work as hard gets exactly the same score, we don't have a sense of fairness as far as that's concerned, and people can tell the difference. They know. Third, I'll say students will not correct, probably unless they're evaluated, unless they're challenged on certain things. Otherwise, we go through so many of the same assignments over and over again, where students do so many presentations, so many writing things, that they do the same thing over and over again in an incorrect way. they're not going to learn anything. And education is as much about, certainly more about the learning than the piece of paper. And the final thing I'll say is this. Almost every class I go into, I start off with the students being slightly intimidated by the rubric, perhaps intimidated by the standards that I uphold. By the time the class is over, usually the students are telling me this is one of the best classes I've ever had, maybe one of the hardest classes that I've had. However, they sometimes feel cheated by the fact that other classes did not uphold those high standards. Because you've got to remember, these people are paying or being paid to go into these programs, and they want to take something of value with them. And unless we maintain these high standards, then it puts reputation at question, and it certainly doesn't give them anything that they'll be able to use in the workplace in the long run. So that's why I think that these issues are of utmost importance.